If you were to sit down with a calculator and just tally up all the time saved by modern technology over, say, the last 50 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the numbers would be absolutely staggering. I mean, just think about it for a second. We have these high-speed washing machines.
Right.
We have robotic vacuum cleaners that use, like, actual lasers to map out our living rooms.
It's just still crazy to me, but yeah.
It's wild. And microwaves that cook entire meals in 60 seconds. Dishwashers that run completely silently in the background while we sleep. So if you factor in all that outsourced manual labor, the average human being today should technically have gained an extra, I don't know, 15 to 20 hours of pure, unadulterated free time every single week.
You think so, yeah.
Right. So here is the great glaring paradox of modern existence. Where did all that time actually go?
That is the question.
Why does a world absolutely overflowing with time-saving tools leave so many of us feeling breathless and behind schedule and just deeply fundamentally exhausted?
It really is kind of the ultimate irony of our era. The very systems that were specifically engineered to liberate us seem to have trapped us in this perpetual state of rushing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even stop with household appliances, does it? I mean, we carry literal supercomputers in our pockets.
Oh, I believe.
Hot, perfectly prepared food from a restaurant all the way across the city arrives at your front door with like 2 taps on a piece of glass.
That's magic.
It is. We pay for groceries in literally 2 seconds just by letting a camera scan our faces. Apps remind us to drink water, to stand up, to stretch, to wish our friends a happy birthday.
Yeah, every single friction point in daily life has just been smoothed over.
Exactly. Smoothed over and optimized for maximum speed and absolute convenience.
But, and here's the catch, despite all of that incredible futuristic convenience, almost everyone I talk to, and honestly, myself included on most days, we feel mentally crowded.
Oh, for sure.
We feel like we are always racing against a clock that we can't even see. It's like we bought all this convenience, but somehow, in the transaction, we accidentally sold our calm.
Which becomes incredibly apparent when we look backward. Like, if you look at the generations that came before us, right? Our parents, our grandparents.
Yeah.
They actually lived in a completely different temporal reality. They operated on a totally different frequency of time.
I hear that a lot, but I also, I want to play devil's advocate for just a second here.
Okay, go for it.
Because I look at photos of my grandparents, and yes, they had a fraction of the technology we have today. But they also did so much backbreaking work by hand. I mean, washing clothes literally took an entire day.
Right, the washboards and the hanging line.
Exactly. And cooking a meal meant actually preparing ingredients from scratch, plucking chickens, kneading dough, not just, microwaving a prepackaged meal kit.
Yeah, that's true.
Their daily life was physically much, much harder. So aren't we romanticizing the past a little bit? Like, why does their heavy physical labor feel somehow healthier than our modern digital labor?
Oh, that is a brilliant distinction to make. That cuts right to the heart of the issue. You are absolutely right. We should definitely not romanticize the physical exhaustion of the past.
Right.
I mean, their bodies were completely tired, but there is a massive difference between physical exhaustion and mental crowding.
Okay, unpack that a bit.
Well, our grandparents might have possessed really profound physical weariness at the end of the day, but they possessed something else that we have somehow lost along the way. They had what we might call breathing room in their minds.
Breathing room. Wow, that is the perfect way to phrase it.
Because when you are, say, scrubbing clothes on a washboard, your hands are super busy, right?
Yeah.
But your mind is allowed to wander. Your attention isn't being constantly fractured. They seem to have these unbroken evenings where they just sat on the porch.
Right, just sit.
Just sitting. They had moments that weren't shattered into a dozen tiny pieces by notifications and emails and global news alerts.
Precisely. They had the mental space to lean over a fence and just visit with a neighbor for an hour without compulsively checking a smartwatch every 3 minutes.
Exactly. They could sit outside and literally just watch the evening arrive.
Yeah.
Today, we have a digital assistant automatically turning off our lights, a robot vacuuming our floors, algorithms curating our entertainment, and yet our default panic response to anyone asking how we are is, well,
sorry, I'm just so busy.
Yes, I'm just so busy.
Which brings us right to the core mission of our conversation today. If life is fundamentally easier to execute now, why do we feel like we never ever have enough time? Why is our baseline state one of feeling completely rushed? That is exactly what we're diving into. Welcome back to Mr. Qian, a relaxed English conversation. I am Mr. Qian.
And I am Lily.
And today, We are setting out on a very specific mission. I want to be incredibly clear right up front to everyone listening to us. This deep dive is not about teaching you how to do more.
Oh, absolutely not.
We are not going to talk about optimizing your calendar so you can squeeze like 3 extra work tasks into your lunch break.
No, the world definitely does not need another lecture on toxic productivity.
Right. Or how to hustle harder.
Exactly.
Instead, we are going to explore 9 incredibly practical, really profound concepts that will help you actually make the most of your time. Concepts to fiercely protect your energy, and most importantly, help you feel present in your own life again.
Hmm.
And because we know you, our listeners, are always looking to improve not just your lives, but your language skills, we're going to frame this exploration as an immersive English lesson.
We are aiming for a solid B2 level English experience today. So this means the concepts we discuss will be complex, the vocabulary will be rich and descriptive, but the delivery will remain natural, conversational, and comfortable.
Yeah, because learning language is always most effective when it's attached to concepts that actually matter to your daily life.
So as you are listening, please do not stress if you miss a specific word here or there. Just let the conversation wash over you.
Right, don't take notes if it stresses you out.
Exactly. As we move through these 9 concepts, we are going to intentionally pause, step into our roles as English teachers, and unpack some truly excellent, high-level English vocabulary.
We will explain not just what the words mean, but how they feel and why native speakers use them. Listen for the context, absorb the feeling, and let your English grow naturally alongside these ideas.
Let's begin with the part of the day where that rushed, panicked feeling usually hits us the absolute hardest. Section 1, the illusion of the morning and the burden of the night before.
Concept number 1. And here is where I am going to say something bit controversial. It goes against almost every self-help book written in the last 10 years.
Uh-oh. Let's hear it.
I firmly believe the day does not begin in the morning. The day begins the night before.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because all these gurus say, win the morning, win the day.
Right.
They sell special journals and these expensive sunlight alarm clocks and rigid routines where you're supposed to drink cold lemon water and meditate at 5 a.m., thinking this will magically fix a chaotic life.
It is a massive industry, isn't it? The whole morning routine complex.
It really is.
But we have to deconstruct this myth because it sets people up for constant failure and guilt.
Yeah.
The morning is not an independent, isolated event. It is a direct biological and psychological consequence. It's the result of the night before. If your night was stretched too late, if it was filled with flashing screens, loud digital noises, or unresolved emotional messes, well, the physiological damage for the next day is already done before the sun even comes up.
You cannot fix a neurologically depleted brain with a glass of lemon water. You just can't.
No, you really can't.
Let's look at the psychology of why our nights get so messy in the first place. Think about this incredibly common phenomenon. Your physical body is utterly exhausted. Your eyes are heavy, you finally get into bed. But your mind absolutely refuses to shut down.
Oh, I know that feeling so well.
Right. The mind stays wide open. It's the classic, just one more trap. One more task for work, one more episode of that television show, one more endless scroll through a social media feed.
Yeah.
Why do we do this to ourselves when we know we have to wake up early?
Well, psychologists actually have a fascinating term for this. It is called revenge bedtime procrastination.
Revenge. I love that word in this context. Who exactly are we taking revenge on?
We are taking revenge on the day itself.
Wow.
Yeah. When you go through a workday feeling like you had absolutely zero autonomy, like your boss dictated your hours, your kids demanded your attention, your inbox dictated your priorities,
Right.
you reach 11:00 p.m. and suddenly the house is quiet. For the first time all day, no one is asking you for anything. And a subconscious rebellion happens.
A rebellion.
Yes. Your brain says, I refuse to go to sleep right now because going to sleep means waking up and starting the cycle of demands all over again. I am going to stay awake and steal back some freedom.
That is, wow. We are essentially throwing a psychological tantrum for freedom.
Exactly.
A tantrum.
We sacrifice our future energy just to feel like we're in control for one single hour in the dark. But the tragic part is, scrolling on a phone isn't true freedom.
No.
And it isn't true rest. The mind never truly lands. It never gets that gentle analog runway it needs to actually power down the nervous system.
Exactly. And the takeaway here for our first concept is that a better, more productive tomorrow doesn't start with a military-style alarm clock and a forced smile.
Right.
It starts with a much gentler, intentional ending tonight.
Yeah.
It starts with recognizing that your brain genuinely needs an off-ramp.
But let's say you didn't get that off-ramp. You carry all that heavy, unprocessed mental activity from a late night right into your morning.
That creates a severe vulnerability. It makes it incredibly easy to overload your brain during the day, which leads us to concept number 2, tiredness from useless input.
We really need to profoundly redefine what tiredness is.
Yeah.
Because most of us believe we are tired because we are working so hard. And sometimes, yes, that is true. But very often, in the modern knowledge economy, we are exhausted simply because we are forcing our brains to process an unbelievable amount of completely useless input.
Let's talk about that mechanism, the HOW of mental exhaustion. The brain is an organ that consumes massive amounts of physical energy, specifically glucose, every single time it makes a decision or processes a piece of information.
Right.
So when we talk about useless input, we're talking about being absolutely bombarded. It's the 24-hour news cycle giving you updates on a crisis on the other side of the world that you cannot control. It's the comment section on a viral video. It's the random little notifications pinging on your wrist telling you someone liked the photo. Every single one of those is a micro demand on your brain's processing power.
Every single input forces the brain to ask, is this a threat? Do I need to act on this? Where do I store this information?
Yeah.
It is exhausting.
I have an analogy for this, and I think about it all the time when my brain feels completely fried at 2 now.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
When we let in all that useless input through the moment we wake up, the inside of our mind starts to feel like a living room right after a massive children's birthday party.
Oh my goodness. That is such a vivid, chaotic image. Walk us through that room.
Okay, imagine stepping into that living room. There were like 15 5-year-olds in there for 3 hours. The noise level was deafening, and now there's just a ringing in your ears.
Right.
The floor is somehow incredibly sticky because someone spilled a giant cup of apple juice, and it is dried into a tacky mess.
Ah, the worst.
There is brightly colored, torn wrapping paper thrown everywhere. Half-deflated balloons are piled up in the corners. It is visually chaotic. It is physically uncomfortable, and the mere thought of having to organize and clean it up is absolutely paralyzing.
You just want to close the door and walk away.
Exactly. You just want to leave the house.
What is so powerful about that analogy is how perfectly it maps onto our digital habits and our neurological state. Think about it. The sticky spilled apple juice on the floor. That is the lingering, low-grade anxiety you feel after reading a stressful political headline. You try to move on, but your thoughts keep sticking to it.
Oh, that's so true. It just sticks to your shoes.
Exactly. And the torn wrapping paper scattered everywhere. Those are the fragments of 10 different short-form videos you watched in rapid succession. You can barely remember them, but the clutter is still taking up space in your head.
Yeah.
And the ringing in your ears, that is the constant anticipation of the next notification.
Yes, that is exactly how it feels. And the true absurdity of modern work is that you sit down at your desk, you look at this messy, sticky, chaotic mental room, and you demand that your brain suddenly produce high-level, focused, creative work.
Right.
Or even worse, you lie down in bed and demand that this messy room peacefully go to sleep. It is biologically impossible. The room has to be cleaned first. We have to realize that not everything that flashes across the screen deserves the right to live inside our minds.
Some things genuinely inform you, but a vast majority of things simply crowd you. And this brings us to a perfect moment to put on our English teacher hats.
Excellent.
Because there are 2 fantastic B2 level vocabulary words that perfectly describe this messy mental state and how we interact with it. The words are squander and drift.
Let's start with squander. SQUANDER. To squander something means to waste something extremely valuable in a very careless, almost thoughtless way.
Right.
Traditionally, you hear this word used with wealth. For example, he inherited $1 million, but he squandered his fortune on bad investments. It means he didn't just lose it. He threw it away foolishly.
But in the context of our deep dives today, we're talking about squandering something much more precious and irreplaceable than money. Your attention and your mental energy. Attention is the currency of your life. Deep thinking is incredibly valuable. But people rarely lose their attention all in one dramatic moment, right?
No, never.
A thief doesn't come and steal your focus. You squander it, little by little.
That is the tragedy of the word.
Yeah.
You don't consciously decide to throw away 2 hours of your Tuesday. You squander it in careless, sticky, 5-minute blocks of scrolling.
Mm.
Let me give you a few examples of how to use this naturally. You might say, a lot of people squander their cognitive energy on trivial online arguments that don't really matter.
Oh, that's a great example.
Or, she realized she was squandering her most creative morning hours checking her spam folder. It is a beautifully tragic word because it implies a slow leak of something precious.
Now let's look at the second word, drift. D-R-I-F-T. Literally, to drift means to move slowly without any clear direction or purpose, usually carried by an outside force.
All right.
Think of a wooden boat on a lake without a motor or oars. It just drifts with the wind and the current.
When we talk about a crowded, exhausted mind, drift captures exactly how we navigate our evenings when our energy is completely depleted. Because your brain is that messy birthday party room, you are too tired to make an intentional choice about what to do with your free time.
Yeah.
So you just drift.
You sit on the couch, and your thumb just naturally gravitates to the phone. You aren't actively choosing to learn something. You are drifting from one app to another, from one video to the next, carried entirely by the algorithm's current.
Exactly.
You could use it in a sentence like this. It is so easy to drift through the entire evening when your mind is exhausted.
Yeah, or without clear priorities for your day, your attention will naturally drift toward whatever is loudest.
Using words like squander and drift really elevates your English because they convey physical motion and deep emotional weight, not just dry facts.
And if we connect this idea of a squandered, drifting mind to our larger theme, we hit a very painful psychological reality. When your mind is that messy, sticky room, it distorts your perception of reality. Suddenly, even a tiny object feels like a massive, insurmountable obstacle.
Yeah.
Which carries us right into section 2. The emotional weight of tiny tasks.
Concept number 3. Small tasks, big personalities. This is a phenomenon I think every single person listening to us right now has experienced.
Oh, without a doubt.
We often operate under the assumption that a highly stressful day is caused by a massive life-altering crisis, a car breaking down, a huge project failing.
Right.
But if we are honest, the biggest, most suffocating stress on any given Tuesday is rarely a major crisis. It is usually the crushing cumulative weight of 5 tiny, completely unfinished things.
Is the micro responsibilities.
Yeah.
It's a text message from a friend that you opened, meant to reply to, and forgot. It's booking a routine dentist appointment. It's paying a $15 utility bill. It's filling out a single-page permission slip for your child's school. These are objectively tiny tasks. If you time them, they would take 2 minutes each. But in a crowded mind, they take on massive, intimidating personalities.
I know you had a very specific experience with this just recently. Tell us about the email.
Oh man, it was embarrassing. So I had this one email I needed to send to a colleague. It wasn't confrontational at all. It was just a standard update.
Okay.
I had all the information sitting right in front of me on my desk. It required maybe 4 sentences. It was a 4-minute task, maximum. But I looked at it on Monday morning and thought, I'm a bit tired. I'll do it after lunch.
Of course.
Then after lunch, I thought, I'll do it Tuesday.
And the snowball begins to roll down the hill.
Exactly. I avoided it on Tuesday. By Thursday, I was carrying literal physical tension in my shoulders every time I walked past my computer.
Wow.
I had delayed sending this basic 4-sentence email for so long that sitting down to finally write it felt impossible. It felt like I was carrying around a pebble in my shoe for 4 days. But instead of taking 10 seconds to stop and take the shoe off, I just kept limping and complaining about the pain.
The pebble in the shoe is the perfect analogy. Why do we do that? Why do we choose to limp instead of taking the 10 seconds to fix the problem?
Because the longer you delay a small task, the more narrative you build around it in your head. I started imagining that my colleague was furious I hadn't replied. I started thinking I needed to craft a perfectly worded, elaborate apology before I even gave the update.
Right, the story gets bigger.
The task itself stayed tiny. It was still just 4 sentences, but my mind had been carrying the emotional weight of it for 96 hours.
To understand the mechanism behind this, we have to look at something called the Zeigarnik Effect.
Oh, right.
It was discovered by a psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik in the 1920s. She was sitting in a busy cafe in Vienna, just watching the waiters.
Okay.
She noticed that the waiters could remember incredibly complex, massive orders for tables of 12 people perfectly, right up until the moment the bill was paid.
Really?
Yeah. The second the bill was paid, the waiter completely forgot the order. If you asked them what the table had eaten 5 minutes later, they couldn't tell you.
That is fascinating. So the brain only holds on to the information while the task is active.
Precisely. The human brain absolutely hates open loops. The Zeigarnik Effect dictates that people remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks significantly better than completed ones.
Hmm.
Your subconscious mind operates a lot like a computer's RAM. Every unfinished tiny task is like a browser tab left open in the background. If you have 50 tabs open, what happens?
The computer's fan starts spinning loudly, the battery drains rapidly, and the whole system slows down.
Exactly.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So every time you look at that tiny email or that permission slip or that text message, and you say, I'll do it later, you are leaving a loop open.
Yes.
You are opening a new background tab,
Mhm.
and your subconscious brain has to constantly spend precious metabolic energy reminding you, hey, don't forget the email. Hey, don't forget the dentist. No wonder we are exhausted.
So the incredible liberating takeaway here is that when you feel overwhelmed, you don't need a massive, sweeping productivity overhaul. You don't need to retreat to a cabin in the woods.
Right.
You just need to close one small loop, take off the shoe and remove the pebble, do the 4-minute task.
Just send the email.
Just send it. The massive wave of relief you feel afterward isn't from the accomplishment itself. It's the physical relief of your mental battery no longer being drained by that background tab.
Which provides a seamless transition into our next English teacher pause. We have two excellent vocabulary items that perfectly capture this struggle with tiny tasks. The phrase, let something slide, and the verb juggle.
Let's tackle the phrase first. Let something slide. To let something slide means to intentionally ignore a mistake or to allow a responsibility to be neglected without taking any corrective action.
Right.
It's when you see a standard dropping or a small task waiting and you actively choose not to deal with it in that moment.
And the danger is that it almost always starts incredibly small. You walk into the kitchen, you see one dirty coffee mug in the sink, and you think, I'll let that slide for now. It's just one mug. You receive a quick question via text and think, I'll let it slide until tomorrow. But as we just learned from the Zeigarnik Effect, letting things slide doesn't make them disappear. It turns them into background tabs that just constantly drain your energy.
Let's give some practical examples for our learners. You might say, when life gets incredibly busy and stressful, people often let their daily habits, like exercising or cooking, slide.
Great example.
Or, in a professional context, the manager noticed the error in the report, but because it was a minor detail, she decided to let it slide.
Right.
Or, relating to our pebble analogy, he let one simple task slide, and the guilt stayed in his mind all week.
The reason we are constantly tempted to let things slide is perfectly captured by our next word, juggle. J-U-G-G-L-E. Literally juggling is what a circus performer does, right? Throwing multiple objects like balls or bowling pins into the air and catching them repeatedly in a rhythmic cycle.
Yeah.
But figuratively, and this is how native speakers use it constantly, it means managing many different competing responsibilities at the exact same time.
The metaphor is so incredibly accurate for modern life. Think about the physical act of juggling. Your eyes are darting back and forth, your hands are moving frantically, your heart rate is elevated.
Oh, yeah.
And there is a constant underlying fear that if you lose focus for even a split second, everything is going to crash to the floor.
That is exactly how it feels to be an adult right now. You are juggling work deadlines, family commitments, financial stress, health goals, social obligations.
Exactly. You are constantly keeping balls in the air. You might say, modern life forces us to juggle so many expectations all at once that we rarely get to just stand still. Or, she is juggling a full-time job, a university degree, and raising a toddler. It is amazing she hasn't dropped a ball yet.
And the hard truth is, when you try to juggle too many things, eventually, gravity wins. You are forced to let something slide.
Which brings us to the severe physical toll of all this relentless juggling. We are moving into section 3, the myth of nonstop effort and the reality of energy. Because if we are constantly carrying the weight of unfinished open loops, and we are constantly juggling a dozen responsibilities, human nature dictates that we try to solve the problem by simply pushing ourselves harder. We try to outwork the exhaustion.
Concept number 4. Effort as proof of seriousness.
Yeah.
I really want to take a moment to examine and dismantle this societal trap we have built for ourselves. Somewhere along the line, over the last few decades, we collectively agreed that being utterly exhausted is the ultimate proof that you are a valuable person. We treat exhaustion like a moral virtue.
It has become the badge of honor of the modern worker. It is deeply ingrained in our culture. Think about a typical office interaction.
Yeah.
If a colleague asks how you're doing and you answer, I'm incredibly well rested, I slept 8 hours, and I'm enjoying a very quiet, manageable week, people will almost look at you with suspicion.
They really will.
They might secretly think you are lazy or that your job isn't important, but if you answer, oh, I am absolutely slammed, I am surviving purely on coffee, I only slept 4 hours last night, people nod with solemn respect.
It's sick.
We have dangerously equated suffering with importance.
It is a massive trap. We act like machines that can just be plugged into a wall to run at 100% capacity forever.
Yeah.
But we are biological creatures. If you never intentionally choose to pause, if you never hit the brakes yourself, your biology will eventually step in and forcefully choose the pause for you.
Absolutely.
And trust me, your body will not choose a convenient time to shut down.
No, it never does. When the body forces a pause, it shows up as physical and emotional breakdown. It shows up as a weakened immune system where you suddenly catch every single cold or virus that passes through the office.
Yes.
It shows up as severe brain fog where you stare at a computer screen and the words literally just look like meaningless shapes. It shows up as deep, unexplainable irritability.
That irritability is the biggest red flag. I think the most relatable symptom of this forced biological collapse is how we react to completely harmless everyday situations. Picture this scenario, because I guarantee everyone listening has lived it. You have been pushing all day, juggling, managing background tabs, operating in that messy mental room.
Right.
You finally get home, your brain is absolutely fried, and your partner or your roommate looks at you and asks a very simple, loving question. What do you want for dinner?
Oh, no. That is the absolute danger zone.
It is the ultimate danger zone.
Yeah.
To a normal rested brain, what do you want for dinner is a lovely, caring question. It means someone wants to share a meal with you.
Yeah.
But to an exhausted brain suffering from severe decision fatigue, that question feels wildly offensive. It literally feels like a personal attack.
Let's unpack the psychology of that reaction. Why does it feel like an attack?
Because your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for making decisions and exercising willpower, is completely depleted of glucose.
Yep.
You hear that question and your brain screams, how dare you ask me to make another choice? I have made 1,000 decisions today. I navigated traffic, I answered 50 emails, I solved 3 crises, and now you want me to conceptualize a meal from scratch.
Wow.
It genuinely feels like the hardest, most unreasonable question in the world, and you end up snapping at someone you love over pizza or pasta.
That intense, completely disproportionate emotional reaction is your body's warning siren. It is your biology screaming that you have absolutely no reserves left. Which brings us to a very fitting phrase for our English teacher pause. Wear yourself out.
Wear yourself out. To wear yourself out means to make yourself physically or mentally exhausted through relentless effort, hard work, or prolonged stress.
Right.
I want you to think of an old pair of running shoes. If you run in those exact same shoes every single day on hard pavement without ever rotating them or letting them rest, what happens?
The soles get thin, the fabric frays, they lose their shape and their support.
Exactly. They get worn out. We do the exact same physical damage to our bodies and our nervous systems.
And the tragedy is that we often do it to ourselves voluntarily out of a false sense of duty. Let's look at how to use it. You might say, a lot of highly ambitious people wear themselves out trying to be perfectly productive every single second of the day. Or, if you don't take your vacation days and disconnect from work, you will completely wear yourself out, and eventually the quality of your work will plummet. It implies a grinding down of material over time.
Which perfectly transitions us to concept number 5.
Yeah.
And I have to say, this concept is honestly one of the most profound paradigm shifts in this entire deep dive.
All right.
It is the fundamental difference between time and energy. We have this habit of looking at our digital calendars, we see an empty white block of time, and we mistakenly think we have freedom. But here is the painful, unavoidable truth. Free time is not always usable time.
That is a staggering realization for most people. It explains what we can call the tragedy of the broken schedule.
Yes, tell us about that.
We all love the fantasy of the Sunday night planning session, right? We sit down, we feel optimistic, and we make these beautiful color-coded schedules for the week.
Oh, I've done it a million times.
From 6:00 p.m. to 7:00 p.m., I will study a new language. From 7:00 p.m. to 8:00 p.m., I will cook a nutritious whole food meal. From 8:00 p.m. to 9:00 p.m., I will read a classic novel instead of watching TV.
It looks absolutely beautiful on paper.
Right. It looks like the schedule of a highly successful person.
But the paper calendar doesn't know you. The paper doesn't know that by 6:00 p.m. on Thursday, you had a terrible, stressful meeting with your boss. The paper doesn't know that your commute home was a nightmare of gridlock traffic. The paper doesn't know that your cortisol levels are high and your blood sugar is crashing.
Exactly.
The perfect schedule completely ignores real human biology and fluctuating energy levels. So you arrive at 6:00 p.m., you stare at your language textbook, and you physically, neurologically cannot absorb a single word. You end up collapsing on a couch and watching 2 hours of a reality show you don't even like.
And then the secondary suffering begins.
What do you mean?
The first suffering is being tired. The secondary suffering is the intense guilt. You sit there on the couch staring at the ceiling thinking, why am I so lazy? I literally have the free time right now. The calendar is empty. Why can't I just have the discipline to do the thing?
Oh, that internal monologue is brutal.
It is, but we need to radically reframe this internal monologue. Listen carefully to this. You are not lazy. You are empty. There is a massive fundamental difference between those two states.
You aren't lazy, you are empty. I want every listener to write that down and put it on their mirror. You simply cannot build a meaningful, productive day on borrowed energy.
No, you can't.
If you are surviving on caffeine and adrenaline, you will eventually crash. One completely free hour on a calendar means absolutely nothing if your internal battery is at 1%.
Yeah.
You are too drained to feel alive inside of that hour.
Because time without energy isn't free time. It is essentially just forced recovery. Your body is holding you hostage to repair the damage you did earlier in the day. And if we don't recognize that biological reality, our plans will always fail. Which leads us perfectly into our English phrase for this segment, out of sync.
Out of sync. Sync is short for synchronization. If two things are out of sync, they are not working in harmony. They are not matching up in rhythm, timing, or alignment.
Right.
The best way to visualize this is to imagine watching a movie where the audio track is delayed by 2 seconds. The actor's lips are moving, but the sound of the words comes late.
Oh, I hate that.
The audio and the video are out of sync, and it makes the movie incredibly frustrating, almost impossible to watch.
In the context of our discussion about time and energy, you can apply this to your daily planning and expectations. You might explain your frustration by saying, my beautiful, ambitious daily plan failed completely because it was out of sync with my actual physical energy levels.
Yeah.
Or a schedule might look wide open and free on paper, but be completely out of sync with how you genuinely feel inside. When your life demands and your energy levels are out of sync, exhaustion is the only possible result.
So the grand lesson here is that we must stop trying to obsessively manage our time and start managing our energy. Which carries us right into section 4, golden hours and the quiet thief of yes.
Because once we finally accept the reality that time is completely useless without the energy to back it up, the logical next question is, how do we effectively combine the two? How do we map our tasks to our energy levels?
Right.
The secret lies in understanding biological rhythms.
Concept number 6, the value of different hours. I think because of the Industrial Revolution and the invention of the 9-to-5 factory shift, we developed this robotic mindset where we believe every hour on the clock is identical. We act like a Tuesday at 10 a.m. holds the exact same cognitive potential as a Thursday at 4 p.m. But human biology does not work like factory line.
No, it doesn't.
We have circadian rhythms. Because of this, some hours of your day are absolutely golden. During these golden hours, your mind is sharp, you feel alive, creative ideas flow effortlessly, and your focus is laser-like. You can accomplish in one golden hour what might take you 3 hours later in the day.
And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, there are the other hours. The hours where, as we like to joke, your brain arrived wearing pajamas and fuzzy slippers.
Yes, the fuzzy slipper hours.
Your cognitive battery is low, you feel sluggish, you find yourself reading the exact same sentence in a document 3 times without understanding it, and you are just dragging yourself toward the end of the day.
Okay, here is where human behavior becomes incredibly frustrating, almost comical. Look at how the average person structures their workday.
Oh, boy.
We have this tragic habit of taking our absolute best, sharpest, most golden hour of the day. For many people, maybe that's 8:30 in the morning right after a good cup of coffee.
Right.
And what do we do with it? We spend that premium energy on the weakest, most trivial, lowest impact tasks imaginable.
You really do.
We sit down feeling great, and we spend our golden hour deleting spam emails, organizing desktop folders into color-coded categories, or engaging in useless chatter on an office messaging app.
It is the definition of false productivity. We are giving our absolute best premium cognitive energy to mere crumbs. We are using a high-powered sports car to drive down the driveway to check the mailbox.
That is exactly what we're doing.
And then at 3:00 p.m., when the mid-afternoon slump hits and our brain is metaphorically wearing its pajamas, that is when we finally open the complex strategy document, or try to do deep creative writing, or attempt to have a difficult, nuanced conversation with our partner.
Yeah.
And we sit there wondering why it feels so agonizingly hard.
It's completely backwards. We are setting ourselves up for misery. We have to stop doing this. We have to identify our golden hours and guard them aggressively for our most important work. Which brings us to our next English teacher pause. The word is reclaim. R-E-C-L-A-I-M.
To reclaim means to demand the return of something that was lost, stolen, or given away. The prefix re means again, and claim means to state your ownership of something.
Right.
But it's not just about finding something you misplaced. It has a strong emotional feeling of taking back power or asserting your rightful ownership. It requires action and sometimes conflict.
Exactly. When we talk about true time and energy management, it is not really about magically finding more time in a 24-hour day that's impossible. It is about actively reclaiming your best attention from weak priorities and distractions. It requires you to step up and say, "This is mine." Let's hear it in a few sentences. You could say, she finally decided to reclaim her evenings by turning off her work phone at 6 p.m.
Good one.
Or, I need to reclaim my golden morning hours from the endless email inbox and use them for deep, meaningful creative work.
But reclaiming your time is incredibly difficult in practice. Why? Because there's a very specific, very charming thief trying to steal those hours from you every single day.
Oh, the thief?
And that brings us to concept number 7, unnecessary yeses, or what I like to call polite time theft.
Polite time theft. I absolutely love that phrase, and I hate it because it strikes so close to home. How do we actually lose our golden hours? It is rarely a dramatic Hollywood-style robbery where someone kicks down your door and demands all your time at gunpoint.
No, never.
No. We lose our time very, very politely. We bleed time through 1,000 tiny cuts. We lose it through quick favors, small spontaneous requests, and the greatest, most destructive lie ever told in the modern workplace. Hey, do you have a second? This will only take 5 minutes.
The 5-minute lie. Anyone who has ever worked in an office knows that it never takes 5 minutes.
Never.
By the time they explain the problem, you context switch, you pull up the relevant files, you solve the issue, and you try to get your focus back to what you were doing. You have lost 30 to 45 minutes of premium focus.
Easily.
But this raises a really deep, uncomfortable psychological question. Why do we keep saying yes? When we know we are overwhelmed, when we know our mental room is a mess, when we know we are empty, why do the words, "Sure, no problem, I can help," automatically come out of our mouths?
Let's really analyze the psychology behind this because it's deeply rooted in human nature. I think deep down, many of us unconsciously use busyness as proof that we matter. We want to feel indispensable.
Oh, absolutely.
If people are constantly asking me for things, if I am the go-to person who can solve any problem, if I always say yes, then I have value. I belong to the tribe. I am important. Saying yes to a request gives us an immediate, highly addictive hit of validation and dopamine.
It's profound. We tell ourselves that saying yes is an act of kindness, an act of being a good team player or a good friend.
Right.
But very often, if we look closely in the mirror, saying yes is actually an act of fear.
Fear of what?
It is the fear of not being liked. It is the fear of missing out on an opportunity. It is the deep-seated fear of being seen as uncooperative, selfish, or ultimately replaceable.
But here is the brutal, unavoidable math of reality. Time is a zero-sum game. Every single unnecessary yes you give to someone else's priority is a quiet, immediate no to your own peace.
Wow.
It is a no to your own focused work.
Yeah.
It is a no to having the energy to play with your kids. It is a no to just resting quietly on the couch to recharge. Every time you say yes out of fear or ego, you are voluntarily handing over a piece of your golden hours to a polite thief.
This is why people struggle so much with setting boundaries. They feel immense guilt because they think boundaries are cold, aggressive, or selfish.
Right.
But boundaries aren't cold walls to keep people out. Boundaries are protective fences around your energy. They protect the limited resources you need to actually be a good parent, a highly effective worker, and a healthy human being.
Exactly.
If you give all your energy away to 5-minute requests, you have nothing left for the things that truly matter.
Which perfectly sets up our next vocabulary phrase for the English teacher pause. Cling to.
Cling to, C-L-I-N-G. To cling to something means to hold on to it extremely tightly, usually out of desperation, anxiety, or fear of letting go.
Right.
Imagine a mountain climber slipping and clinging to a tiny rock ledge, or a nervous child clinging to their parent's leg on the very first day of kindergarten. The word implies a strong emotional or physical reluctance to release your grip.
In our context today, it describes the psychology of modern busyness perfectly. People cling to their packed schedules, their endless to-do lists, and their constant low-grade stress because the alternative, slowing down and facing themselves, feels terrifying.
Yeah.
If I am not incredibly busy, who am I? What is my value? Let's use it in a sentence. Even though the job was destroying his health, he continued to cling to the prestige of the title.
Great example.
Or, regarding our polite time thieves, we cling to the habit of saying yes, even when it exhausts us, because we are afraid of disappointing people.
So let's imagine a scenario where we succeed. Let's say we manage to stop clinging to busyness. We successfully set protective boundaries, we start leaking our energy to polite time thieves, and we actually reclaim some of our golden hours.
Sounds amazing.
What happens next? This brings us to the crucial final phase of our deep dive. Section 5, the speed of life and building a sustainable reality. Because getting the time back is only half the battle. What do we actually do with the time we reclaimed?
Concept number 8. Speed steals detail. We have to fundamentally slow down our internal metronome so we can actually experience the time we just fought so hard to reclaim. Because here's a tragic truth. Time doesn't just disappear when we are working or distracted by screens. Time disappears simply through the sheer speed at which we force ourselves to live.
This is a beautiful and somewhat melancholic emotional truth. When your daily life is moving too fast, the days don't just pass by sequentially. They blur together into an unrecognizable smear.
Yeah.
It is exactly like looking out the window of a high-speed bullet train. You know intellectually that there is a beautiful, complex landscape out there, but because you are moving at 300 kilometers an hour, you can't see the individual leaves on the trees. You can't see the architecture of the houses. You can't see the faces of the people.
It is all just a rushing streak of color. Think about your daily routines when you are in a rushing mindset. Sensory experiences completely vanish. Breakfast becomes mere background noise. You are mindlessly chewing a piece of toast over the kitchen sink while simultaneously trying to tie your shoes and mentally review an email.
Oh, I've done that.
Taking a walk in your neighborhood isn't a walk. It is just a rushed physical transit from point A to point B while listening to a business audiobook on 1.5x speed.
Right.
Even the precious time you specifically fought to reclaim to relax starts to feel like a scheduled, high-pressure task on a to-do list that you need to efficiently execute.
Yeah.
You sit down and think, okay, I have exactly 22 minutes to aggressively relax before my next meeting. Go. Relax harder.
It completely defeats the entire purpose of being alive. Because as we discussed when we were preparing for this conversation, speed steals detail, and detail is where human life is actually felt. You don't experience the abstract concept of a week. You experience moments. You feel the warmth of a ceramic coffee cup in your hands on a cold morning. You hear the specific, satisfying crunch of a dry autumn leaf under your shoe. You notice the exact, unique tone of your best friend's laugh. If a week vanishes in a high-speed, hyper-efficient blur, it wasn't really felt. It was just survived.
Speed steals detail, and detail is where life is felt. I really, truly want our listeners to let that sentence sink in. To capture those sensory details, to step off the bullet train, we have to talk about our next vocabulary phrase, carve out time.
Let's break down the imagery behind carve out time. To carve means to use a tool, like a knife or a chisel, to cut into something hard and unyielding, like wood or solid stone, in order to create a specific shape.
Right.
It is not passive. It takes physical effort, sharp tools, and deliberate, intentional action. So when we use the idiom carve out time, we mean deliberately and forcefully creating space for something important in a schedule that is already dense, hard, and rigid.
This is such a vital distinction to make because free time doesn't just magically appear like weather. You don't just wake up one morning and find an extra hour casually floating around your living room.
No, you don't.
The modern world will consume every second you give it. If you want 10 minutes of absolute silence on your back porch without any screens, you have to carve it out of the stone of your day. You have to push other demanding things aside to make that space exist.
Exactly. Let's provide some examples. You might say, Despite her incredibly demanding corporate job, she fiercely carves out time every Sunday morning to paint.
Nice.
Or, if you want to read more literature, you can't just wait until you randomly have free time. You must actively carve out 20 minutes before bed and defend it. It requires agency. It requires you to be the sculptor of your own reality, rather than just the stone being chipped away by others.
Which leads us directly to our final concept, concept number 9. This is the synthesis, the ultimate summary of everything we have explored today. The final goal is consciousness over efficiency.
We have to be incredibly careful here at the end. We must ensure that our pursuit of better time and energy management doesn't secretly morph into just another high-pressure, stressful metric by which we judge our own self-worth. It is so easy to turn resting into another competition.
Exactly. The goal of everything we've discussed today, closing loops, protecting golden hours, stopping the useless input, is not to turn you into some flawless, hyper-optimized productivity cyborg.
No.
We are not trying to get you to wake up at 4:30 a.m. every single day with a glowing, stress-free face to run 10 miles, drink a green kale smoothie, and journal for an hour before the sun comes up.
Let's be brutally honest. Anyone on the internet who claims that is their effortless daily reality is highly suspicious.
Very suspicious.
And they are likely trying to sell you a course.
Definitely.
They are definitely hiding the messy parts of their lives off camera, because real, authentic human life is not a perfectly curated social media aesthetic. Real life is overwhelmingly ordinary.
Yeah.
It is unpredictable. It is messy. It involves spilling milk on your shirt right as you leave for work, sleeping through alarms, getting stuck in unexpected traffic jams, and having days where your brain just feels fundamentally tired and out of sync no matter what you do.
And that reality is the secret to everything. The best, most successful routine in the world is not the one that looks the most impressive in a leather-bound planner.
No.
The best routine is the one that still functions on a tired, messy, rainy Tuesday when everything goes wrong. It's a routine that has enough breathing room built into it that it can bend without snapping in half.
Because the overarching goal of organizing your life, setting boundaries, and managing your mental room isn't about squeezing 15% more corporate productivity into the day so your boss is happier.
Right.
The true profound goal is losing less of yourself inside the day. It's about arriving at bedtime, putting your head on the pillow, and actually feeling like you were awake and present for the hours you just lived.
Which brings us to our final English teacher pause, and a word that perfectly captures this idea of a realistic, deeply resilient life. Sustain.
Sustain. S-U-S-T-A-I-N. To sustain means to cause or allow something to continue for a long period of time without breaking down. It implies deep endurance, structural stability, and nourishment. It is the exact opposite of a crash diet or a sudden, explosive burst of motivation that burns out after 3 days.
It really is the ultimate test of any life change you try to make. You might have the willpower to wake up at 4:30 a.m. and run 5 miles for 3 days straight, fueled by a motivational video, but can you sustain that practice for a year while juggling a job and a family?
Probably not.
Probably not, and you will wear yourself out trying. The goal is long-term viability. You might say, making small, gentle, realistic changes to your habits is much easier to sustain than following extreme, rigid rules.
Yeah.
Or she finally built a working rhythm that she could actually sustain for decades without burning out. The goal is not perfection. The goal is a sustainable reality.
And that brings us to the end of our 9 concepts. It has been a truly incredible journey today, starting all the way back with the crowded, sticky mental room of the night before, moving through the emotional weight of tiny tasks, and arriving finally at building a sustainable, conscious reality where we actually feel the details of our lives.
It really has been a journey. As we bring this deep dive to a close, I want to gently remind everyone listening the B2 vocabulary words we highlighted and unpacked today: squander, drift, let something slide, juggle, wear yourself out of sync, reclaim, cling to, carve out time, and sustain. These are not just dry academic words meant to be memorized for a proficiency exam.
Not at all. These are real-life, powerful, emotional tools. They exist in the language specifically to help you express the deeply nuanced, complex, and sometimes frustrating thoughts and feelings you have as an adult trying to navigate a highly demanding world.
Exactly.
Sometimes just having the precise, accurate word to describe your exhaustion can make the feeling itself slightly easier to manage.
Exactly. So please, do not feel any pressure to memorize this entire list of 10 words right now. Do not turn this English lesson into another tiny task that you let slide and feel guilty about.
Please don't.
Just pick one. Pick one single phrase that really resonated with your personal experience today. Maybe you realize you need to reclaim your mornings. Maybe you realize you need to carve out time for silence. Try to practice spotting that one phrase in the world, reading it in articles, or just using it in your own internal thoughts this week. Let it be a natural, completely pressure-free addition to your growing vocabulary.
Because if we pull back and summarize the emotional core of this entire conversation, it was never really just about time management. Time is just a cold mathematical measurement. This was really a conversation about fiercely protecting your attention, guarding your biological energy, and preserving your internal peace.
Beautifully said. If just one single idea from these last 60 minutes stayed with you today, maybe the liberating idea that you aren't lazy, you're just empty, or the realization that the Zeigarnik Effect is draining your battery, or the poetic truth that speed steals detail, let that be enough.
Yeah.
You do not need to change your entire life by tomorrow morning.
But we would love to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over as you go about the rest of your day. We want to hear from you directly to keep this conversation going.
Yes, you, the person listening to this right now, wherever you are. We want you to really think about this question, and if you feel comfortable, go to the comments section and share your honest answer with us. What is the one thing, the one habit, person, or app that quietly, politely steals time from your life every day? And what is one small, incredibly simple change you want to try making after listening to our conversation today?
We invite you to keep it short, or if you feel deeply inspired, share your whole story in the comments. We read them all, and it is endlessly fascinating to see how these universal themes of busyness and exhaustion play out in everyone's completely different lives across the globe.
It really is the most rewarding part of doing this show, seeing those connections. If this conversation resonated with you today, if it gave you a much-needed moment of clarity, or even just a helpful new English phrase to express yourself, please take a quick second to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a friend or a colleague who might be feeling a little overwhelmed, juggling too much, and out of sync themselves.
This is Mr. Qian, and this is Lily, and you have been listening to this English Week's Deep Dive. Bye!
Your progress does not end here. To continue advancing your English skills and exploring new concepts, click on the next video or explore the additional deep dives we've thoughtfully selected for you on the channel. And remember, tonight, before you check that next email or scroll through one more feed in the dark, ask yourself if your mind is starting to feel like a sticky, messy living room, and if you might just need to carve out a little time to turn off the lights and let it be clean.